Welcome everyone to this webinar this evening on the Catchwise project, which we are hoping to provide you with a quick overview on its purpose and what we're planning to do over the next year or so, and how you can get involved as charter boat skippers, and why it's important for you to get involved and support this project. This is a quick overview of the evening. We're going to start with a broad project overview and then go into a little bit more detail on the charter boat survey that hopefully you'll want to get involved with, the data collection and what it's going to be used for, and importantly how we're going to protect your data if you participate in this project, and then any next steps and questions. So I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Galini to provide you with a quick overview of the Catchwise project. Thanks.
Thank you, Hannah. So yeah, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. So I will make you like a brief introduction about this project, and more details and methods and data use will be provided by my project colleagues during this webinar. Please feel free to raise any questions. We really want to know what you are thinking about this project, and of course, any feedback are more than welcome. So Catchwise project is a new survey that of sea angling taking place in England and Wales in 2023 and 2024. And it will be the biggest single study of sea angling undertaken for over a decade. The project itself, it has been co-developed with the recreational sea angling community, and its goal is to improve the recognition of sea angling value to coastal communities and inform accurately relevant fisheries management decisions. We can all agree that sea angling is an important activity that indeed brings social and economic benefits, especially to coastal communities. Significant points of sea angling activity has been highlighted in previous research. One of these is the considerable economic impact that it has, worth approximately 1.5 to 2 billion British pounds. One other is that the angling and the sea angling supports approximately 15,000 jobs in the UK economy, and when indirect effects are considered. And third, understanding the catches from recreational sea angling is essential for managing fish stocks sustainably. Taking this into account, having precise and reliable data about sea angling, including the catches and spending, is becoming vital. This information can be used in combination with other data sources related to commercial fishing and marine activities and other marine activities to enhance fish stocks management. And when you have fish stocks managed sustainably, you can achieve conservation goals and support the availability of fish for sea anglers. The survey will be conducted through face-to-face interviews of anglers fishing on the shore or on private boats, and through an online survey for charter boats. And this is where we need your support. We really believe that participating in Catchwise survey provides a unique opportunity to sea anglers to ensure that the data that comes from this project is as representative of recreational sea angling as possible. It helps coastal communities to have their own voices heard, for their experiences and expertise to be recognized. In conclusion, and Hannah will take the floor after, Catchwise is a significant project that will provide valuable insights into sea angling industry in England and Wales, and we can learn more about this important activity, its value to coastal communities, and its impact to local economies. So if you're a charter boat operator, I encourage you to participate in this project. And Hannah will get into more details of why the data collection are so important. And thank you very much for your attention. Hannah?
Thanks, Galini, for that introduction. So I'm just going to skip to the next slide. Yes, so just building on a little bit about what Galini said there, and Sam and Zach will build on this later within the presentation. But question we get quite often is, well, why do we need data on sea angling? And quite honestly, the landscape has changed significantly through the Fisheries Act. So recreational sea angling is now considered to be a legitimate stakeholder in UK's fisheries management, and that provides many exciting opportunities. I think we often think of data as being something that is there to provide a barrier to our sea angling activity, or is there to be a challenge or something that prohibits the activity, the sport. But really, it's also an opportunity, and through things like fisheries management plans, which we're increasingly being engaged with, we're really able to raise the profile of sea angling and demonstrate how socioeconomically valuable many of these species are to sea angling, and how they can maximise the benefits to coastal communities. So this really is about delivering for sea angling and ensuring that the voice that we now have is amplified as much as possible. Now, one of the things that it's important to be mindful is that through these fisheries management plans, there is something called the precautionary principle. So if there is ever thought to be a threat to the status of a fish stock, the government is now able to potentially implement management in the absence of data. So it's really important that we have accurate data on sea angling to ensure that we can fight for that management if it should be required to be in line with the proportion that the evidence is demonstrating that it is. But I really want to underpin that this project itself is not about implementing management at all. That's not what we're here to do. We're really here to evidence the great value that sea angling provides to coastal communities, and really find out what fish stocks are recreationally valuable to the community, so that we can use that to evidence our discussions around fisheries management plans moving forward. So as Galini mentioned previously, this has been funded through the Fisheries Industry Science Partnership Scheme. This is a DEFRA funded scheme through the UK Seafood Fund, and this funding has really come available because of recreational sea angling's newfound position as a legitimate stakeholder in UK fisheries management. And there are other schemes that I encourage you to look at, like the Fisheries and Seafood Scheme and the UK Infrastructure Funding Scheme too, that is now available to sea angling. So as I was saying earlier on, there are opportunities as well as potential challenges ahead. And just wrapping up before passing over to our colleagues at Substance and CFAS, as Galini was mentioning previously, there are two main elements to this, which are a shore survey that will be face-to-face across the English and Welsh coast over the next sort of 12 months, starting in the summer, and a charter boat survey as well, which we'd really encourage you to take part in. And are looking forward to your partnership in this moving forward. One thing I just want to mention as well is that we understand there's some hesitancy around data collection projects due to projects that have taken place in the past. What we really want to reinforce is that from an angling trust perspective, one of our main reasons in partnering with CFAS and Substance on this is that we understand there is this need for data in order to deliver a vision for sea angling that creates better fishing opportunities for you. But we also really want to amplify sea angling and charter skipper voices through this project. So if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to pass those on. Our part in this project is ensuring that any of your questions and concerns are raised and that we can have a collaborative approach to this project, so that everyone has, you know, their own say and their own perspective shared. So this really is about collaboration at the heart of it. So with all of that said, I'm going to pass over to, I think it's Zach now. But if you have any questions throughout this webinar, please feel free to pop them in the chat, or there'll be an opportunity at the end. So thanks for your time, and I'm just going to pass you over to Zach.
I think it might be Sam that's coming on.
Oh, sorry, it's Sam. Sorry,
it's absolutely fine. I'm only here for 2 slides. We're good. So yes, and the next thing we're going to look at is a survey. So that's where Substance has kind of had its expertise on trying to understand what the survey aims are and trying to pinpoint that data collection. Next. So the charter boat survey this is what we really aim for, is a robust randomised data set of what anglers catch on charter boats. So it's based in England and Wales, and we've discussed with a few different charter skippers at the moment and different people in the field, and we've kind of pinpointed it down to trying to collect randomized sample of weeks each month of the year. So I know obviously it's difficult if you don't collect data or you don't keep any records of what you're catching every week. So for us to ask for a whole year, it is would be unsustainable. So hopefully we're hoping this method will kind of be able to collect that data without creating too much hassle on you. And we'd love to get some feedback on this as well. And from all of this, we want to allow the raising of data to a national level. So by collecting this sample and this randomized sample, we should be able to calculate the estimate of annual catch in total. So next. So the process really here is to create a database of all the charter boats in England and Wales, and that's probably how we've either come about your contact or we've collected it through our partnerships as well. And this will be ongoing, so there's always new people that will want to get involved, and we want to expand this database really so we have a good representation of all skippers in England and Wales. So we do the screener survey, which is where we ask for your consent for you to take part in this. And this will be sent out after this webinar. So this is aimed for between now and next month to understand the number of skippers that want to get involved in something like this. And then we can create our sampling framework, which is just basically who we're going to ask when. So we've got this 12-month diary survey, but it's randomised. You wouldn't have to give us your data every month, and it would just depend on what the algorithm came out as to when we would ask you for a sample week of information within a month. And what we're asking for really is just activity and catches. So how many people are on your boat? When did you go out? How long for? Duration? And then what you caught. So yeah. Next. So this is going on to data collection. So understanding what data we're asking for and why. Next. So the charter boat survey, we've got a few different bits of data that we're trying to collect. So the first one was the database of all the charters in England and Wales. So understanding what your vessel or vessels names are, the home port and region in which you fish. So we're not necessarily, or we're not looking for specific locations of where you're fishing. We're just looking for whether or not you fish in specific ICES regions. So we're not bothered about marks. We're not bothered about specific locations of where fish were caught. So that is all kept with you or anonymised either way, but that's not something that we include in this. The next thing is the skipper's name and contact details. And then our methods really here are our substance database, desk, which is desk and internet research, and stakeholder information as well. So engaging with you on these things like these webinars and trying to work out what feedback you have. Zach, I don't know if you have any input here at the moment.
No, I'm going to come in a little bit to talk a little bit more about the data required.
Great. Yeah. So then we have the screener survey, which is where we'll fill in these gaps in the database. So understanding what type of activity you are, how often you go out, any other vessel information. So do you target specific species? Are you part of specific groups, such as the shark angling? What is your capacity as well? So and then whether or not you are willing to take part and getting that consent. So the method of this is just this online survey, which will be sent out afterwards. And then we've also got the, communication, follow-up calls, emails. And I know that Angling Trust as well are hoping to go and visit some sites in the next year to try and increase that user engagement. And then we've got this diary survey. So to record the number of catches, trip details, and days fished in that week. And then again, this is completely randomized. So it's not as if we're asking for every week of the year. It'll just be completely random and selected within a month. So this is an online survey which you'd need to fill out, and then any supplementary information you might want to give it over the phone or via email. Great. Next. So the charter boat survey data collection, so split all participating boats by region. So Zach, you might actually want to interject on this one a bit, because this is your one.
Yeah, this is me. Hey, for anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Zach Redford. I work at CFAS, so I'm a recreational fishery scientist at CFAS. I've been working on rec fishing projects for about 6 years now, and basically what I do is I'm a bit of a computer and maths nerd, and so that's my sort of background to this project. I'm coming up with the sampling design to try and reduce or remove any bias in the survey, as well as coming up with the doing the analysis at the end of it to get all the totals. But anyway, on my slides, so what we're going to be doing is splitting all of the participating boats by region. At the moment, that's planned on being each of the regions in England as well as Wales, but depending on how many boats sign up to the survey, that might change a little bit. So what we're going to then do is randomly select a few weeks within the year to sample, with weeks that contain things like public holidays having a higher probability of being chosen, just so we can try and maximize the data that we're getting back from everyone. So what will happen is when we randomly assign a week to a region to be sampled, all the boats that sign up will then provide data on each trip that they do and within that week, and also what the catches were, amongst some other bits like that has been mentioned before, like capacity, etc. What we'll then do is we'll take those data and generate an average number of trips that are conducted per week, as well as a catch rate per trip, using things like weather and number of anglers that are part of the that are on the trip, as well as tide states and things like that, just to try and help us get the most accurate average that's possible. And, we'll be sticking this into a bit of a computer model to help us get this results. Once we get all those averages, we'll just multiply the number of trips by the catch rates together to get the total catches for the charter boat fleet, and then we'll then combine that with the shore and private boat survey that we're doing as well to get the total catches in England and Wales. You move on to the next slide, please. Great, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about the use of the data that's going to be collected, as well as a little bit about the data protection that's going to be in place. Next slide, please. Oh, yeah, great. So as Hannah's already mentioned a bit, the aim of this project really isn't to put any sort of control on sea angling, as in CFAS, as well as people at the Angling Trust and Substance, and even down to our customers and DEFRA, really don't want to be putting undue controls on sea angling. It's just not something that we want to be doing. But the thing to remember, though, is that everyone has a responsibility for the fish resources, especially if they're being depleted. So what we need to do is make sure that we have the best monitoring solutions in position to support the best management solutions if they should be required in the future. So the other good thing to remember is that just because we're collecting data, Hannah's talked about this a little bit already, is that data can actually really help anglers. Hannah's talked a bit about this precautionary approach, where essentially if you don't have any data, you have to use the most conservative management approach that's possible. which we would like to really avoid happening, and that's what we're hoping to do with this project, is really help the trust and help us as fishery scientists come up with the most optimal management solutions that are around if they should be required. The other thing that's really good about collecting data is that it gives anglers a much bigger voice, and it's a much bigger voice than they've had in the past. So things like the Angling Trust and other angling representatives being involved in the fisheries management plans is a voice that anglers really haven't had in the past. And this is partly down to the successful lobbying by these groups, but also due to the data that we've collected as part of the Sea Angling Diary project. Can you move on to the next slide, please? So great, just to talk a little bit about the data protection that we'll be using. So we're not going to be reporting anyone's catches by anyone's spots really that they're going out fishing to. No precise locations are going to be given out or even collected by anyone. All we're interested in is what port you've left from and what ICES region you've fished in. And you can see those ICES regions in the figure on the right there. So they're quite large areas, so it's going to be quite hard for anyone to come and steal your marks. In terms of catches, we're only looking for total weight of fish kept and returned, and only for a certain subset of core species. So things like cod, pollock, bass, sharks, and rays. Although we'll be giving you a full species list as the survey develops more. We'll also only be getting aggregated numbers caught by anglers, so there won't be anything specific to your boat that will be reported to anyone. And also you can, although we're only asking for a certain subset of core species like the cod and pollock and bass, we will be providing the option for you to report on other catches. It's entirely up to you as charter operators. If you already collect that data, we'll be really happy to get hold of it. In terms of the data security, it's going to all be stored securely on Substance's servers, which are all accredited with the relevant ISOs. And also, if you decide that you don't want to be part of the survey anymore, you can just request your data to be deleted. It's completely within your legal rights to do that. That's great. That's everything from me, and I'll pass you back over.
Yeah, so really we're just trying to understand what the next steps are, and we really want your feedback. So if we go on to the next slide, this is kind of the process that we've thought about. So trying to get your feedback from today, and then also if you want to email us afterwards, or if you have any other thoughts, you're more than welcome to. It's really appreciative, because obviously this is something that will be taking place for the next year. We want to amend that screener survey and approach if you don't think it's viable, and then also launch this. So launch this from next week until the end of May, and try and get people actively involved. Then we want to prepare working with the skippers from June this year, and then start that charter boat survey process from the 1st of July until the end of June next year. So anything really that comes from this will have a direct impact in how we work for the next year, really. Great. So I think this is where Hannah and Galina are going to come back in, and yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Galini, for your presentations this evening. I'd like to invite any audience members to either raise their hand or pop any questions that they may have in the chat. I apologise if my network is a bit dodgy. There is a thunderstorm overhead where I currently am. So if I drop out, I'll hand over to my colleagues to take over. But whilst people are thinking about questions, I really just, from our perspective at the Angling Trust, we as anglers know and understand the value that we bring to coastal communities, the species that are important to us and our businesses. You know, we can see on the ground, we are eyes and ears for our seas. We see certain species declining as a result of that. And this project, as we see it, in addition to the reasons that I mentioned previously in relation to the Fisheries Act and the changing political landscape, is ultimately about delivering sustainable fisheries that will allow your businesses to thrive both now and in the future, more and bigger fish for people to catch, better benefits for coastal communities, really delivering and evidencing that, and ultimately, you know, in order for us at the Angling Trust to make those arguments to groups like DEFRA through fisheries management plans, we need really good evidence bases for recreational sea angling in order to fight your corner and make sure that we're really getting those arguments across. So I just wanted to reinforce that from our side, it really is ultimately about delivering a better fishing experience and getting those sustainable fisheries, getting coastal communities thriving based on your businesses, as you know, from first-hand experience. So really welcome your thoughts on that. Any hesitations, you know, this is a safe space. Please feel free to speak as you feel within, you know, reason. So yeah, please pop any questions you may have in the chat. But if there's some silence, I'm going to assume everyone's really happy and looking forward to signing up. Thanks, Simon. I'll just give you privileges to. Right, your microphone is available, and so is your video, Simon, if you want to unmute yourself. We're waiting with bated breath, Simon. And thanks for your comment in the chat, Luke. That's fantastic to hear that you're looking forward to signing up. Thank you for joining us this evening. I know who's there. This is the thing. It's just technology. Let me see if I can make you a presenter, Simon, and see if that works. Can you try now? You have presenting privileges, so you should be able to unmute yourself.
Oh yes, we got that. Some of you attending this might know that I've been heavily involved with the data collection, especially from the shark point of view, but also I'm involved in the Fish Polyp project, which I know at least one of the people attending this evening is involved with. I don't think we quite a lot of people don't really understand the power of this data. I mean, the data, the shark data, the blue shark data has just been presented to ICAT, and effectively we've forced the position where we are now the UK, we are the UK representative who provides data to ICAT. ICAT will use this to help set their biannual tax for blue sharks, which are only for commercials. They have no say at all in recreational whatsoever, and it's only because we had such great data we've been able to do this. And also the same as for poor beagle. There has been, whether it will work or not we don't know, but there was an attempt to include poor beagle in the JNCC list, the latest triennial list that came out. We have been able to mount a case. Now, without data, we would not have been able to mount a case. It would have been absolutely impossible. Now, whether it will work or not is a different thing. And there's lots of things that are changing within fishing, within the groups that control commercial stocks. They're very interested in recreational data. If we don't provide it, they will use the precautionary effect principle, and we're liable to find something we really don't like. So without, as sort of people have tried to drive home, without data, precautionary principle will apply, and that's under the Fisheries Act, and it won't be a good result. So I'd just sort of like to add that as sort of my 2 pence worth anyway.
Yeah, thanks, Simon, and thanks for all you're doing on the data collection front and working with skippers. We really appreciate it. As someone's in the chat has mentioned, he deals directly with you with data. So yeah, brilliant, and it's great to work with you on that. And yeah, I completely agree. You know, particularly, for example, some of the fisheries management plans I'm involved with, you know, we're talking about species that are recreationally important, but they're data deficient. So it's really difficult to make a case on how valuable they are to the recreational sector and why certain management on the commercial sector should be implemented, because they're not as commercially valuable as they are recreationally. So ultimately, data is our friend, and it's really important, and we can use it for a multitude of reasons to defend the interests of sea angling. So really, really important for people to get involved. And yeah, I completely agree with the comment that has been popped in the chat about the fact that we're protecting the sport for future generations and future participants. We need to really recover our fish stocks and lead a great legacy for people to get involved with sea angling. Don't know if that's a legacy hand, Simon, or if you've got something else to add. No, hand's gone down.
I was just going to add on the comment about provision of data to Simon. I know we're working with Simon quite a lot, and for those boats that want to participate and are also part of Simon's projects, we're looking at ways that we can try and reduce the burden on skippers so that you're not having to report the same data twice effectively. So we'll have a system where you'll provide data to Simon, which will then, along with some extra bits of information that we require for our specific project, and that data will then come to us. So we're just trying to reduce the reporting requirements as well.
That's assuming skippers agree with that. Of course,
yeah, absolutely.
It's entirely up to the skippers.
Yeah, we don't want it for people that don't want their data shared with us at all. Yeah,
I think that's a really important point to make, that skippers do own their data. As Zach said earlier on, if you participate and then you want to delete your data, you're completely at liberty to do so, as is your right. So that's always worth bearing in mind, and that anyone, you know, one of the great things about this project and that we're hoping to really get across with the cross collaboration is that we want skippers and anglers to get the recognition that they deserve for participating in these projects and facilitating data collection and for making it happen. Because I think so often in many data collection projects, not just those about recreational sea fishing, but about, you know, the marine environment in general, sea anglers are often forgotten as being really important parts of the data collection project. And again, that's something Simon's been so great at leading on with the Pat Smith database. And we'd like to give the same recognition here for skippers that participate in the project. Oh, well, I can't see any further questions. Oh, Simon's got his hand up again. Simon, you beat me to it. Feel free to come on.
No, sorry, I'm being. I mean, the one thing that's very obvious as well is the additional spin-offs that benefit skippers. There have been various tagging projects that skippers have got on the back of collecting data that have been worth a lot per day for a skipper. You know, I know skippers who've got 15 or 16 trips. You know, and that's fantastic. You know, they're actually tagging. They're getting premium price for what they're doing. And you know, we, as Hannah will know, we've had requests from all around the world about potentially working in the future on these sort of projects. And yeah, it's, you know, it does lead to other opportunities. And at a time when, you know, the economy isn't great in this country and it's more difficult to get people on board, these sort of things can be really, really valuable to the skippers.
Thanks, Simon. Yeah, I'm just responding to a comment from Andy about a centralised sort of all species data hub, which I think is a great idea, and really happy to chat with you about that, Andy, at a later date if funding's available. I don't know if, while I'm just responding to this, if anyone has any further comments to add at this stage. Sam, Zach, Galini, anything? Okay.
No, I would just say, Hannah, that obviously we've got the email address and Galini is working on this project as well full time. So we are here to answer any questions that have come about of this or anything that you might have afterwards. And even if you do sign up and then decide to not participate, it's always good to understand reasons as to why as well, and what we could do to maybe change or increase the trust between us, so you can understand the the importance of the project itself.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. Yeah, so as Sam said, there's a Catchwise email address that you'll all receive in the follow-up to signing up to this event, and please also engage with all of the materials that we're going to be sending through throughout the duration of the project. You can keep updated on an email chain and also social media, and we'll send that all through to you as part of signing up. But if there's nothing else from my colleagues and no further questions from the audience, I'm going to thank you all for your time this evening. I hope we've answered many of your questions, and if you have any furthermore, please feel free to drop us a line. We're more than happy to help, and we're looking forward to hopefully hearing from you throughout the Catchwise project and hearing about what you're seeing on the ground. Thanks everyone, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone.